in bus inspection 101.
Okay, here we go. We're going to step outside the bus. We're going to check our DEF fluid. We're going to check that the cap is on tight, not cracked. There's no leaks. We're going to close it back up. Now we're going to move over and check our mirrors. We're going to check our supports are firmly attached to the bus, not damaged or missing, cracked. We're going to check our little turn signal lens here, our clear lens, that it's not missing, damaged, or cracked. We're going to check our hood latch, that it's firmly attached, and we're going to release it so that we can open the hood. We're going to come around to this clear lens that houses our headlight, high beam, turn signal, and four-way flasher. It's not damaged or broken in any way. It's not missing. We're going to step to the front of the bus. We're going to look up top. We're going to check our 3 amber clearance lights, that they're not missing, cracked, or damaged. We're going to check our 2 amber student lights and 2 red student lights, that they're not missing, damaged, or cracked. We're going to check under the bus that there are no drips or puddles. We're going to check the crosswalks that's firmly attached. We're going to step over. We're going to check this lens the same as we did the other one. We're going to check these mirrors the same as we did on the other side, that they're firmly attached.
Okay.
And our clear turn signal lens is firmly attached, not missing or damaged. We're going to check our hood latch, make sure it's firmly attached, and we're going to unlatch it.
Okay.
Then we're going to step around to the front and open our hood. All right, we're going to come over here, pretty much work from the outside in. We're going to check our front tires, make sure that they have at least 4/32 of an inch of tread. We will check them with a tread depth gauge. These front tires cannot be recapped. We're going to check that they're going evenly and smoothly. They're not cuts, rips, or tears. The sidewalls are in good condition, not bulging, not torn or ripped. We're going to check for the valve stem and cap, that they are there and attached, not missing. We're going to make sure the tire is inflated to between 80 and 100 psi. We're going to check the rims, that they're not damaged or broken and there's no welding done to the rims. We're going to make sure that the bolt holes are not cracked or elongated. We're going to check there's no signs of loose lug nuts, such as shiny threads or rust trails. We're going to check that the hub seal is not leaking. I believe that's it for the wheels and tires. Now we're going to move into the brakes. This bus has disc brakes. If you come over here, you can see the disc. If you look in, you see the shiny part?
Yep.
That's the disc. The big part here that's around the disc and here, that's the caliper.
Okay.
And the pads are inside of the calipers.
Okay.
Now, the way we talk about brakes usually is CPR, to remember it. Calipers, pads, and rotors. We're going to make sure the calipers are firmly attached, not missing any nuts or bolts. We're going to make sure that the pads are not worn excessively thin and they're not contaminated with anything like dirt or grease
Can't see anything
or
behind.
anything of that nature.
Okay.
We're going to make sure that the rotors are attached firmly, not missing any hardware, no nuts or bolts missing, and they're not bent or warped. Then we're going to check our brake chamber, which is right here.
Okay.
Make sure it's firmly attached, not missing any nuts or bolts, not leaking, and that the hoses going to and from are not that are firmly attached and not leaking.
Okay.
All right, now we're going to steering, and we're going to check our power steering fluid right here. That is at a proper level. The reservoir is not leaking. The hoses are fastened and not leaking. We're going to do this sort of as a package. We're going to check our steering column, our steering box, our drag link, our pitman arm, and our tie rod. We're going to make sure that they're all firmly attached, not missing any nuts or bolts, not missing any cotter pins, no bad or worn or loose joints.
Okay.
We're going to check our frame. It says do not cut, weld, or drill frame rails. We're going to make sure they're not cut, welded, or drilled, or no damage to the frame at all. We are going to check our shock absorber, that is firmly attached and not leaking. We're going to do our suspension. We're going to check our leaf springs. We're going to make sure there are no missing, damaged, or misaligned leaves. We're going to make sure that the leaf springs are firmly attached to spring hangers on both ends, and that they're attached in the middle with U-bolts to the axle. There's no missing nuts or bolts, and that the axle is not bent or damaged itself. Okay, we are going to make sure that all of our hoses and wires are intact. There's no cut or abrasions on the hoses, no frayed wires, no bare wires. We would check the oil. We would pull the stick out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it back out, read it, make sure the oil is at the proper level, and then wipe it off and reinsert the oil stick. We are on this side, which we like to call our A&P side. So we're going to check the air compressor and the power steering pump. The air compressor is in the back. It's hard to see. It is gear driven. We're going to make sure it's firmly attached, not missing anything, not missing any nuts or bolts. We're going to check the power steering pump, which is behind the air compressor. It is also gear driven. We're going to make sure it's not missing any nuts or bolts and it's not leaking. And I believe that's it for this side. So we're going to go around to the other side of the bus. And we would start exactly the same at the tires and do everything. But what we're going to do now is just do what's different on this side that we have to inspect. So we're going to check our coolant level, make sure it's at the proper level and that our reservoir is not cracked or leaking. And this is what we call our A&W side. So we're going to check our alternator and water pump. Our alternator is a big silver thing right here. We're going to make sure it's firmly attached, not missing any hardware, nuts or bolts. It has no frayed wires. We're going to check our water pump inside here. That it's firmly attached, not missing any nuts or bolts, and it's not leaking. We're also going to check the belt here. A single belt drives all of them. And we're going to make sure that it has no more than 3/4 of an inch of play, and it's not cut or frayed or damaged in any way. And if we conclude that, then we can close the hood.